Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Lost Minds podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Anthony.
And today we're just going to be riffing it. We are going to talk a little bit about like all the things that are going on right now.
Riffing it.
Yeah, food shortage, gas, mass shootings, all the things, and kind of how they all connect and what we think is like, happening.
How they're all good for our mental health.
Yeah, definitely not. But
oh, my bad.
Anyway, so it's been a long time since we've had a video, but we had COVID and then just like a few life things going on. So good to be back.
COVID didn't even touch me, man.
Yeah, COVID was.
I think it made me stronger.
It really didn't. I was kind of offended, actually. I was very offended about your symptoms, whereas I was like, I wasn't that bad. Right?
No.
It was a little rough for a few days.
You had like
I had like 2 days. Where
you just weren't feeling right.
Yeah.
But
we're back and we're here and we're doing it. So
doing the thing. Ain't nothing
doing
but
the damn thing. Ain't nothing but a thing.
Okay, so the food shortage. You want to talk about that first?
Sure.
Okay, so Biden, I don't remember exactly when he predicted the food shortage happening. I can look it up real quick. But he did, and I guess in the last 14 weeks there have been like 30 distribution and like food processing plants, I think, that have been like lit on fire and burnt to the ground, which isn't a coincidence. And people on Twitter have kind of caught on to it. And there have been journalists from like small networks and small like newspapers and stuff like that have been reporting it, but mainstream media is ignoring it. Internationally, there have been like 100 of them. That
does it say who is burnt? Like what? No. They've just randomly been set on fire. They don't know who's doing it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild. I didn't know about that until the other day when you told me about it. I was pretty shocked, to be quite honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like a conspiracy theory either, because other countries are reporting it, because there have been like 100 of these facilities that have been burned down internationally. And it's like Walmart distribution centers and stuff.
I mean, like, I think we all have to, like, I feel like this episode is going to kind of be like that in the sense of like, it will be things that like theories, I guess, that we have about why this is happening, but not theories in the sense of like totally outlandish, just like, you know, if you're aware of things and you're enlightening yourself into like the way the government works and the way the world works, you will start to realize that, I don't know, just like these things that people consider like conspiracy theory, like right-wing conspiracy theorists, like conspiracy theories aren't actually conspiracy theories. Like these people just work together and there's a bigger like goal here than just, you know, right versus left, or like the right trying to get like certain messages across to people by like putting these conspiracy theories out. Like there's actually like merit to some of these concepts. But yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. There's this website it's a Canadian website. It's called visiontimes.com. And it says a string of fires destroys food processing facilities across America. And this was in April 21st of 2022. So there's been more since then. Some crazy
and that's
stuff.
Just like in the midst of us having like a baby food shortage, and you have like even, I mean, groceries are so expensive now.
Yeah.
My mom was telling me the cost of like the materials for our dinner tonight, which usually would cost me, it's like a homemade pasta dish and like would normally cost me maybe under $10. That cost her at least 25 tonight to make. And I make it like pretty frequently. Like I've bought it myself and she's bought materials for me, you know, ingredients for me to make. And like it's gone up so much. And honestly, like even gas. I was like going to get gas one of these days, these past 2 weeks, and it was $4.50. And then 3 days later, I go back to get gas because I've been, driving around a lot these last few weeks. And yeah, it goes up to like, I think it was like what did I say it was the first time? 470. I think it was like
Something like that.
490, like
Yeah.
499. And I'm like, how in like 2 or 3 days I had gone back and it was that much.
Right. So on March 25th, Biden said it's going to be real, talking about the food shortages, and he cites the reason being like Ukraine and all that stuff that's going on. Because I guess Russia and Ukraine have been the breadbasket of Europe for wheat.
Yeah, but then
it's
like,
also really
why
weird
are
that
we
all of ththese facilities
burning down? Right.
are burning down.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
very, very odd.
I kind of wanted this to just be like a broad topic because we were talking about this with a few of our friends this weekend. And then you have like within the last 3 days, there's been like 7 mass shootings all in like the last 3 days. And I feel like this happens a lot where mass shootings will go in between these like ebbs and flows where like one big mass shooting happened. So we had, God, how do you say that? School.
Uvalde?
Yes.
Uvalde, I think.
That was like the big one.
Sorry.
I feel like that kicked it all off. And then, like I said, the last few days, there's been 7 mass shootings, which that happens all the time. Whenever you have like a really big mass shooting, that's like mainstream news. And then all of a sudden there's like these smaller, but like more frequent mass shootings that happen. And we're just seeing that happen again. So, our friend had a really good point of like, it really does seem like they're trying to prepare us for something. And like, I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think that's just like, if you're paying attention to the way that current events happen and crises happen, I feel like, we talked about how like there are historians that say that we always knew that like empires have a certain like, what am I trying to say? Shelf life, like have a certain, lifespan. And we were coming to the end of that lifespan. Like historically, the precedent says we were coming to the end of that. And historians are now saying like we are actively in that like end stage of our empire. And it's just kind of crazy that now all these things are happening. Where we had like Donald Trump, we have, Biden now, who everyone was so like panicky about Donald Trump, and now when we have Biden, we have all these things happening. But it really just does seem like they're ramping up for something, because one of the biggest critiques that we had beginning of Joe Biden's presidency last summer was like increased military budgets, and they're still doing that. We've talked about it on this channel of increased military budgets, increased police budgets. Progressives are going along with that now and like increasing Capitol Police. I'm trying to plan a march in Washington DC this summer for Medicare for All, and it is extremely hard to get anything done in like to try to plan that. They will not let you like put signs up. They will not let you, like, if you're on Capitol grounds, there's so many rules now of how you can protest and how you can, do these things. And yeah, it really just, I guess I'm trying to say that all these things really do, like, at this point, I feel like all seem to add up, where it's like we had January 6th, and so they had excuses to ramp up the police budget. They had excuses to ramp up the military budget. We have these food shortages. We have Ukraine, which we know is like, the US has a lot of hand in and has for decades. And now we have these food shortages, and we have gas prices going up, and we have liberals and conservatives arguing over whether it's Biden's fault about gas prices. And, we have all these things that are also just like deep distractions, like the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial is like going on right now, or was going on at this time. And now we have like all these mass shootings happening. And so we have people calling for stricter gun laws. And I'm not necessarily against stricter gun laws, but I am against like completely banning guns, or even, you know what I mean? So at this point, it really does seem like they are preparing for a revolution. Like they have made conditions in this country so hostile, so unattainable, that they're preparing for a revolution. They know that people are going to, I think especially after Donald Trump, there were a lot of people that left after Obama, there were a lot of people that left the two-party system. After Trump, there were a lot of people that left the two-party system. And then after Joe Biden, I think they would see that more. And I think we're seeing, I've said this before too, like naturally people are just going to start exiting out of this system that we have been taught is like okay for a whole life, because people are going to start experiencing the system at work. And I think they're preparing for that by having all of these situations happen and using culture wars to like give us stricter gun laws. And you know, they won't pass Medicare for all, but they'll probably give you stricter gun laws, or they'll probably ban.
Reminded me, that's how chaotic it's been lately. I forgot that like the whole like abortion and Roe v. Wade thing happened too.
I was thinking about that the other day.
That's added to the whole thing.
I was thinking about that the other day, about how like we had all these Democratic politicians who were talking about Roe v. Wade, and it was like this life-changing thing that happened, right? Like once in a lifetime, we have to fight for Roe v. Wade right now. It'll never be the same in our lifetime. And now no one is talking about that. I mean, I know that like in Michigan, like our Planned Parenthood is like doing work for a Michigan like based law to like, if Roe v. Wade were to be overturned, that Michigan would still be, it would be illegal here. Heard
about that.
But other than that, I have not heard shit about abortion, which is wild. Like there are so many other things that I could point out too about. I feel like I've thought about them and now I'm like blanking on them. But there are other things that have happened too, where like it's been a big thing, and then now like no one's talking about it. But I feel like everyone's in a state of crisis like, right now.
On to the next thing. Bit, like
absolutely.
It was a distraction.
It's honestly it's honestly so irritating to me to see like some of the people I know on Facebook talk about gas prices and like higher cost of food, because it's like, you know, like you think it's like a silly conservative conspiracy theory, or like conservatives are just stupid for blaming Joe Biden on gas prices. But it's like, there are actually people out there who like literally now need a raise. Like we need $15 an hour, $25 an hour just to fucking pay gas. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there are people out there who can't just say, oh, well, like if you're willing to support, you should put up with the gas prices because Ukraine needs our support. Or like, you know, you saw those things all the time, like, oh, you're worried about gas prices, well, Ukraine children are being bombed right now, so wham pour on you. It's like and
in all of this, like I saw a funny picture. Joe Biden, it said like had Joe Biden, and it said promised to raise minimum wage $15 an hour, and then below it said made $15 an hour worthless.
Yes,
which is what we've done.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just the degradation again of society in general. Everything is just eroding before our very eyes, and it just makes me wonder how far things have to go and how bad it has to get for everybody to get on the same page a little bit. And just be done.
I've said this for a few months now, but I don't think it'll take more than 2 years. I really don't. I feel like a lot of people are getting to that breaking point. Even people who
2 years from like now.
Like even people who I know now, who I have organized with, who are typically like much more centrist or even like civil in their like organizing strategy, are kind of at this point like, fuck politicians, and we're not voting, and we're going to get out on the streets. And it's just becoming more serious now. And people are less apt, I think, at least on the left. I'll say at least on the left, and not like liberals or the old left. I would say like the actual like commies, anarchists, like leftists are not interested in culture war discussions anymore. Like we're just all about, we're like being very serious about these issues. I was talking
more about people waking up, as in like the liberals and stuff being done with voting and participating in the two-party system. Because that is when things will really turn around at the pace that we need it to.
I mean, I think it's going to take at least another maybe presidential cycle, or at least another presidential election, because I don't have any doubt in my mind that a Republican will win the presidency next. But I think that it's going to take that in order to get us to kind of shift. I think mostly because it's going to have to be lefties that are going to have to step up and really connect the dots for liberals and say, I told you so. Like, it's uncomfortable. I feel like, and that's one of the things that irritates me so much about organizing and just like political discourse, is it's like, it's disrespectful to say I told you so in political discourse. And I
Right.
hate that. Like, if you're
It's
wrong, admit
impossible
you're
to hold
wrong.
people
Like, I'm
accountable
sorry.
in
Yeah.
political discourse
People
nowadays.
jumped down my throat last year so much because I would say stuff about AOC, I would say stuff about the progressives, and they would prove me right, and then I'd have to say I told you so, and then people would get pissed at me and tell me that I was like an awful person, I was like a bitch, I was mean, I was all these things because I told them they were wrong. And I don't know. I think that it's just gonna get to I've said this for a while too. Like, people have to it's unfortunate, but a lot of people have to experience these like oppressive systems in order to change their minds on things. Until you're actually experiencing it, you are less likely to be sympathetic towards other people who are experiencing it. You're less likely to actually take action. But it's going, like, if our empire is collapsing, it's going to affect everyone. It's going to affect certain people more. It's going to affect minority communities more. It's going to affect poor people more. But it's going to happen to everyone. Like, everyone's going to feel it in some way, shape, or form. And I think they're just going to get tired of it. And we're all going to be, maybe they won't be at the level that we are, but we're all going to be able to come together on like the common issue of ending this system in some way, shape, or form. What's unfortunate is that I don't know if that will result in like an extremely leftist state, which is unfortunate. I think
Probably
that liberals
not
will not
in the
be
short
inclined to
term.
that. Yeah. But even if we were inching towards that, you know what I mean? I think that would even be, I mean, I don't know.
Better than what we have
Yeah.
now.
But I also think that
And
I'm not
in
even
an incremental way, I don't think.
I think the revolution is honestly going to look more like people are going to start to realize that they need to focus less on electoral politics and so much more on like mutual aid.
Mhm.
And we just need to start taking care of each other. Like, the government isn't going to come save us. It's never going to come save us. We need to get used to the fact that all of us are not going to be able to pay for stuff.
The Democratic Party are the same people. They're the cops that were standing outside of that school that let all the children die, and the Republican Party is the shooter killing everybody.
Yeah.
I
believe
that's really where we're at in politics at this point, and people just need to be done with it.
I believe deeply in direct action, and like I don't think that we should have to take care of ourselves. I think the government should be the government's job, is to take care of its people. But I do think that at this point, the number one priority of like the left in organizing spaces has to now be mutual aid, and secondary to that has to be direct action, because we can't even have direct action at this point without mutual aid. Like, we all can't afford to make it out. Like, that's one of the issues with the action that we're hosting in Washington, D.C., which I still hope that folks come out to it. And I'm still very happy we're having it, but we're having trouble with it and we will have trouble with it because it's going to cost a lot of money for people to come out there. Just with gas prices and like lodging, and everything is more expensive right now.
And you have to hope that there's enough people for it to not be just like cracked down on like immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, we have a permit, so that likely won't happen. Whereas other people, but you know, I get what you're saying, but yeah,
I'm not part of the organizing, so I might sound ignorant. For people,
it's not ignorant. But yeah, I do feel like, you know, we're getting to the point where we can't even organize. Like, people don't want to get out on the street right now. People can't get out on the street. We cannot. They can't focus on that. And if we don't start, like, if communities and organizers in specific communities, well, really in every community, I would love to see like a mutual aid network in every single community that isn't a 501c3 nonprofit, that doesn't have a hierarchy of leadership. Like, literally I'm talking about like a network that can connect people with resources / every neighborhood having a garden / every neighborhood or every community having nurses and doctors that offer free services. You know, like free clothing drives, free like food drive, you know, all these things just being readily available for people, books, art, music, community block party spaces, like just building our own systems of community building. And that to me is like the revolution.
About that.
Yeah. But that to me, I guess I'm saying like that to me is revolution. Like, right now, that's what revolution would look like to me. Do I want us to have an actual revolution? Do I want do I want to dismantle capitalism? Absolutely. And I feel like that would be a long-term goal of mine, but I think we can't get there unless we have these like alternative communities. these communities that are doing other things that
and we have
are
to hope
taking
not
care
to
of
get,
us.
assassinated first. Jeez Louise.
Well, that's why it's so scary. Honestly, like I used to be like totally. I mean, I am for stricter gun laws in the sense of like people should.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be
as easy to get as like a Gatorade.
Right. But yeah, like and especially like especially fucking Black and brown communities need to be armed, and they need to have like
definitely.
we need Black Lives Matter protests need to be armed. We need to start protecting ourselves and protecting the most vulnerable in our communities. And honestly, sometimes that way is just being armed. Like, I mean, like you had the Black Panthers who were demonized for that, but like ultimately we're on the right track. And I think we're all seeing that, now. I feel like for a long time we had this like civility, and I think, MLK is very whitewashed, obviously. And like very told that we're like he was very centrist, but also he was more invested in like nonviolent direct action. And a lot of organizers are still invested in nonviolent direct action, but you have to use a violent system's like ways against itself. You can't be peaceful to a violent institution. Like they have no shame in literally murdering you in the streets. You can't be peaceful to a violent institution.
Also, what are you supposed to do? Just sit there and let them just destroy you and stomp you into the mud?
I mean, in the 1960s, or like in general, to get a piece of legislation passed, cool. Yeah, maybe nonviolent direct action works. To like literally dismantle capitalism, nonviolent direct action will not work.
Try it at first, but like just expect them to not react peacefully towards you. Just respond to them the way that they're, I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't even mean like violent.
I just mean, is that too wimpy on my end? Because
I just mean even it doesn't have to be violent. I just mean like even more risky direct action. Like,
no, I know what you mean. I don't think you ever meant like just go out there and just start like. I know.
Right. I just mean like I mean I'm not necessarily. I feel like we do need to defend ourselves. Absolutely, especially these Native communities and like Black communities who are just like we saw BLM protesters getting brutalized and Line 3 protesters being brutalized. Like we should have forms of defense for ourselves. I feel like, but
I mean then that just shows like that we're taught as since we're children. And kind of brainwashed into not believing in like defending ourselves against like institutional powers. Like we're always self-defense on an individual level, and we're fine with that. But when it, and like look at how we respond to countries that like Iran a couple years ago was like, oh yeah, like if you come near us, like we're definitely prepared to just like defend our country and kill you. And Americans like acted like they were bloodthirsty monsters for saying that, but it's like it's kind of human nature, or human natural, as Kevin Malone would say.
You can't fight violent colonial institutions with like you can't. It just another. This is off topic. A little off topic. People are dying, Kim. This is a little off topic, but one of the things that I forgot that had happened recently was freaking student loan debt. Canceling $10,000 worth of student loan debt. Remember that whole thing?
That
happened. That happened before.
Feels like
that happened before the abortion thing. But that also was like, where'd that go? Where'd that go? Who's working on that now? No one. No one's working on that now. Like, what the hell?
Speaking of things that are being worked on, do you want to wrap this up and talk about March?
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
No, not really. Other than, I don't know. I mean, this shit is just crazy right now. Like,
I do just again,
like Emily said, just need to take care of each other and, take care of yourself, protect yourself.
I do just want to say and point out that like connecting the dots for people, which is why I think some people might find this as like a conspiracy theory kind of episode, which I hate. But I do want to point out that like you had January 6th, who we know had feds involved. You have like you have January 6th, who we know had feds involved, and then you have like Ukraine, who we know we had, a hand in. And now you have potentially mass shootings who feds are involved in because of just the nature of this like last shooting of him having like $15,000 worth of guns, but yet didn't have a job, like wasn't from wealth. You know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't add up.
Wasn't even from like upper middle
Yeah.
class type wealth.
You had like the Vegas shooting, who was also a little sketchy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, pay attention and like stop. Like,
well, see, it's funny. If we were making this video and like while Trump were in office, people would be like, "This is so fire," and we'd probably get some views for it too, because that's just how the political times are right now. And so, because Biden's in office or Democrats are in office, people like liberals are gonna call us conspiratorial.
Well, yeah.
That's why I don't really care, because it just doesn't matter what their opinion is to me. Because I mean, if you're not principled on it, then it doesn't matter in my world.
Yeah.
Sorry, I guess I don't really have anything else to say.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to point out the dots and just say, like, you know, just because like no one was uncomfortable with talking about these kinds of like things that are deemed conspiracy theories before 2016 and when Trump was elected. And
you had these like, you forgot to mention, I'm sorry, you forgot to mention the feds and the Whitmer thing.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't national, so I didn't know if I should mention it, but yeah,
no,
you had
but,
like
I mean it kind of wasn't. I mean, it's national news.
Yeah. I mean, you had like our governor who was like, oh, it was going to be kidnapped by this like right-wing militia, but then you find out there was like people who infiltrated this right-wing militia. Also, there's freaking CIA ops who co-opt and like infiltrate left-wing spaces all the freaking time. Why do you think that there are so many organizations who are going incremental now? Freaking Our Revolution and all, like that's not a coincidence. I'm sorry, that's not a coincidence. There are people that come into these spaces who intentionally co-opt language, and because we've gotten so, I like deeply believe in like social justice and like certain movement like theory and like, you know, these like common buzzwords that you hear in like organizing spaces, but we've gotten too deep into that they'll say like progressive was co-opted, leftist is going to be co-opted, identity politics was co-opted, communism eventually is going to be co-opted, they're going to use a bunch of communist themes and they're going to co-opt it into their own situation. A lot of race, like anti-racism, like white privilege, they've all been co-opted into being these like really neoliberal ideas now, and they do that so that they can get familiar with this conversation. Like you had I don't remember what, if it was like the army, like Twitter or something, who just tweeted out literally an like an army or military helmet with bullets on the side of it. Yeah, pride colors. Freaking pride color bullets. Gay bullets, okay? And like what the that's what I mean, is you have to be careful about this. That's why like the left has to have security. We have to be like aware of these things. Like the CIA, the feds, they are going to be trying to infiltrate these groups. I'm just saying, whole like,
and we need to get some gay bullets.
Whole conversation of the whole like wraparound point of this conversation is that they are preparing for us to for there to be an uprising, just like there was in 2020. Only it's going to be a united front of issues, because we're all going to be experiencing a united front of issues, and they're preparing for that to happen in so many different ways now. Also, do you want to give the definition of the shock doctrine? Because I feel like that is also related. Do you want to like really quick mention that, and then we'll wrap up?
Yeah, sorry, you put me on the spot. I had to figure out how to articulate it now. Yeah, it's basically where they use times of crisis, because usually, not usually, political instability leads to the market crashing and like Wall Street collapsing and things like that, and which leads to restructuring of wealth distribution in our country, and which can be a really great opportunity if the government wasn't bought off by the top 1% and the donor and owner class. Basically what they do is they use political instability, or they cause political instability to lead to this market crash, so that they can restructure that distribution of wealth, so that they can give the top 1 or top 5% even more wealth. It's basically how the richest people in the world have figured out a way to consolidate their wealth even more.
Yeah. So I have just really quick, like a definition. That was good, but like just to put it into other words, like
You're showing me up. I get it. I get it.
It exposes the myth that the global free market triumphed democratically, exposing the thinking, money trail, and the puppet strings behind the world-changing crises and wars of the last 4 decades. The Shock Doctrine is a gripping story of how America's free market policies have come to dominate the world through the exploitation of disaster-shocked people and countries. So it is a book by Naomi Klein.
Yeah.
And then it says the like concept of the shock doctrine, it centers on the exploitation of national crises, disasters, or upheavals to establish controversial and questionable policies while citizens are too distracted emotionally and physically to engage and develop an adequate response and resist effectively. Boom. If that doesn't describe what we're dealing with right now and have been dealing with for years, I don't know.
I guess I'd more describe what leads to the shock doctrine. The shock doctrine is the act of
really since 2020
a society and a population being so beaten into the ground and so exhausted that politicians can make really horrendous policy and give all of the middle class wealth to the top 1% and the rich folks, and the population either doesn't care or they like doesn't don't have even the energy
to care, because again they're emotionally or physically,
I didn't mean that in a bad way, like they don't care, like they're stupid or anything, they're just like whatever.
They're emotionally and physically checked out,
or they don't even notice. So
we're in survival mode, and we're all dealing with collective trauma right now, and that's what it is. Like everyone's dealing with a collective trauma, and it's been happening since 2020. I mean, it's always been happening for certain communities, but I think for the whole population, it's been probably since 2020 that we've just had one thing after another. So, anyway, I wanted to share really quick about the march I've mentioned a few times in this episode. That's happening on July 30th. It's the March for Medicare for All National Day of Action. We are planning it at Union Square in Washington, D.C. And last year we had a uprising of about 56 cities to support National Improved Medicare for All. And instead of doing a whole like nationwide, like small cities, because we're a small team and that takes a lot of work and effort and a lot of like coordination that a small team doesn't.
It was in?
I don't. Sorry. Yeah, we typically say 56 cities. But instead of like having a bunch of that like coordination, we decided to just all culminate in one place this year. So that will be on July 30th. If you can make it out, please. We're asking that folks come out to that march that day. We did have a lot of like organizations support last year and try to put on their own march. And while we really appreciated that last year, that's not what we're going for this year. So we're really hoping that everyone can make it out to DC. If you can't make it out to DC, there will be plenty of opportunities. We're going to also have a week of action leading up to July 30th. That is going to be mixed of tweet storms and calling people and participating in some online like activism as well, / like doing some mutual aid hopefully in Washington DC, and doing some more riskier actions later on in the week. Can't describe too much because we don't want to be found out and then shut down, so I can't describe too much, but if you're interested in joining us at all for those, please head to our website. I will leave it linked below, and you can sign up to volunteer. We can get you involved. We can keep you in the loop as far as what goes on during the week of action. The biggest thing that we need help with right now is donations. If you can support financially and are willing to, even if it's a few bucks, actions cost thousands of dollars, especially in Washington, D.C. They have a lot, especially after January 6th. They have a lot of requirements for us for staging, sound equipment, all of the things that we need. We're trying to get around 5 to 10,000 people there. And in order to have that many people, we need a stage, we need a mic, we need sound equipment that costs thousands and thousands of dollars, like roughly $5,000 just for that. So, and also we have some disabled folks who are going to be there, and we need ramps for wheelchairs. We need a lot of accessibility equipment. So that being said, we need your financial support if you are able to. I will again leave the link below for our website. Please leave a direct donation, order from our merch store, or I have planned a trivia night happening on Wednesday night. I will also leave the bit.ly link there to register. It's going to be a Medicare for All / healthcare trivia night. We're going to do like movement history and fun facts and like other facts about Medicare for All. It's going to be great, and it's a suggested donation, so whatever you can afford to contribute to join us in the space and do some fun trivia. It'll be an hour long, and yeah, I'll leave all the details below, but please, please, please join us in Washington, D.C. if you can, July 30th. I believe next week what I'm going to try to do for our episode is bring on some folks that I work with Medicare for All, March Medicare for All, and we'll have our first guest. Yes, probably multiple. So that'll be fun because I really want to get it out there. And I know we have a small following here on this channel, but still worth it to share it with all of you. So please support if you can and try to make it out to DC. If you have any questions, feel free to. I'll leave an email of mine below too if you have any questions and you want to reach out. I think that's it for me for plugs. Do you have anything else?
Nah.
Okay, sweet. All of the links that we typically leave below are there for mutual aid networks and for all of our following situations and the two-party system.
I'll send you the information about the conspiracy theories we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
and so they'll be down the.
I will also
description.
I will also link the Shock Doctrine book if anyone's interested in reading it. I would definitely be interested in reading it. I haven't yet, but would love to purchase it and get into that. And yeah, I think that's it for today. So just go ahead and check out the description for all the things, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more shows happening the rest of the week. We appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Peace.
Bye.